I'd like to take a few moments and talk with you about why programming your locomotive, specifically your TMCC1 locomotives, is so important. Number one, you program your locomotives so that you can set the ID number for the engine itself. From the factory, every Line L locomotive comes pre-programmed as engine 1. Well, if you have two engines and you don't change the ID number, they're both going to respond being on the same track at the same time to engine 1. So, using the TMCC1 system, you have the ability to program up to 99 engine ID numbers, 1 through 99. Typically what we do at Line L is we use the last two digits of the cab number. So this Jersey Central Blue Comet is cab number 831. So we're going to program it as engine 31. Now, it's important to note that all TMCC1 locomotives, including station sound diner cars, command controlled crane and boom cars, etc., they all have just an engine ID number that they'll respond to, engine 1, engine 2, engine 3, etc. But in the programming mode, they also have what's typically known as an auxiliary code. That auxiliary code can be a 1, 2, or 3-digit number. Those numbers are used to set up specific outputs on your command receiver. For instance, this is a steam locomotive. So just about every steam locomotive we have out there will include the number 7 and the number 4 in the auxiliary program code. The number 7 does two things for us. One, it sets up the serial data coming out of the command receiver through the IR tether as uninverted. And two, it keeps the serial on even when we're in conventional mode. That's important because if the serial were not on in conventional mode, the tender would not chuff. It would just blow the whistle and ring the bell and no chuffing sounds. The second digit, 4, what that does for us is that tells the front headlight to stay on all the time. And only the rear headlight comes on in reverse, while the front headlight stays on in reverse. So only the rear light's directional. For a 3-digit code such as 740, 7, again, gives us uninverted serial, gives us serial in conventional mode, 4 sets up our headlight output, and 0 inverts our serial data. So now we've taken 7 for serial in conventional mode and 0 for inverted serial data through the IR tether. All of these 1, 2, or 3-digit auxiliary program codes can be found in the owner's manual for your specific locomotive. If you look in the index, it'll be underneath TMCC or command control functions, and it'll typically be labeled restoring your factory functions or factory defaults. Typically it's 1 or 2 pages beyond the instructions on how to program the locomotive. So I'd like to take a moment, and we're going to go ahead and program this Jersey Central Blue Comet. And we're going to program it correctly. The correct auxiliary code in the manual for this is 74. So I'd like to walk through that with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick our engine up, we're going to place it in the program position, place it back on the track, connect our wireless tether drawbar. We're going to apply track power, and using our remote, we're going to press engine 3, 1, and the set button underneath the cover. Gives us a whistle to confirm it took the command. Now what we're going to do is put the auxiliary code in. We're going to press the straight arrow key, or what we call aux 1. Press the straight arrow key, 7, 4. Now we're going to turn the power off, put our engine back in the run position, place it back on the track, turn the power back on, and now when we address engine 31 and press the aux 1 key, the sounds will come on. Whistle, bell, motion, maybe. There we go. Direction, get the engine running backwards. Turn the bell off. Our rear coil coupler with the R button. So the engine responds. Now what I'd like to do is program the locomotive with the wrong code. Turn power off. I'm going to put the train in program. Place it back on the track. Now what we're going to do, we're going to program it as engine 31. And the auxiliary code we're going to use is wrong. It's going to be 740. I want to show you what the effects of that are. So engine 31 set. Aux 1 740. I don't know if you can hear this in the video, but this sound system is ticking. It's making a tick, 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 tick sound. The reason it's making that ticking sound is because it's lost the serial data coming through the IR tether. So we know that this is programmed incorrectly. Put it back in run. Now when I turn the power on, the IR data through the tether is not going to be there. Well, it'll be there, but it's inverted, and the audio board inside the tender doesn't understand it. So my sounds come on immediately, and I have no control over whistle or bell. I can still run the engine because my receiver is inside and it knows it's engine 31, but the outputs for that receiver, specifically the serial data, is inverted. So the tender doesn't know what to do. As far as it knows, it's in conventional mode. I can prove that by pressing the whistle button on my transformer and getting the whistle to sound. Same thing with the bell button. I can press the bell button, turn my bell on. So just from a simple act of programming, if you enter the wrong code or fail to enter the code at all, you can change the way your locomotive performs and make it appear to be broken. So anytime you call Lionel customer service and say, I have a problem with my locomotive, once we identify what locomotive it is you have, the first thing that we do before we do anything else is we ask you to reprogram your locomotive. The reason we do that is because it's so important to ensure that you have the correct auxiliary code programmed on the engine when you're in the program position. Otherwise your engine could behave in some manner in which it was never designed. Therefore you see that as being a failure. Oh, my engine doesn't work, when in reality it does. You just programmed it wrong. So we're going to go ahead and program it back right. Put it back in program, place it back on the track. Apply power. Engine 31 set. Aux 1. We're going to straighten out that serial data. 7. Got a whistle. And 4. Put it back in run. Turn the power on. We're now communicating through our drawbar. The reason I wanted to show you this again is because I'm going to go back and I'm going to press the whistle button. But nothing's going to happen in my tender. It's not going to blow the whistle. It's not going to blow the whistle because it's receiving that IR data, or the serial data, through that IR tether. And it knows I should only accept whistle commands from the serial data coming through the IR tether and ignore the DC offset on the track. Show you again on a different locomotive the same principles. Here we have a New York Central S3 electric, or S1, S2 electric, sorry. Apply power, we put it in program. This engine, the cab number is 100, so we can't use 00, so we'll use engine 10. So we say engine 10, engine 10 set. Horn toots to confirm it took the command. We're going to put the wrong auxiliary code in it. We're going to hit aux 1 0. And go ahead and put it back in run. Hear that ticking sound? That ticking sound exists because the Rail Sounds audio board is no longer receiving uninverted serial data, instead it's receiving inverted serial data. So the audio board doesn't know what to do. So that ticking sound, engineers will oftentimes refer to that as ground looping. We just tell you that you've lost the serial data to the audio board. So to correct it, even though it's sitting there making this hideous ticking sound, give it a second to get there. Back in program, so we hit engine 10 set, aux 1 8. Now I've got serial data to my locomotive. It responds to all my commands, both on the throttle and from the sound system. Some of the outputs of the receiver board that can change based on what auxiliary codes you put in there are the output of the smoke unit. Give you an example. On a diesel, the auxiliary program code is typically 8. What 8 will do for you when you're back in the run position is your smoke unit output of your receiver board. When you press aux 1 9 and you hold 9 down, the receiver actually puts out 14 volts to the smoke unit to superheat the element, so you can start generating smoke vapor. When you let off 9, that voltage drops to 12 volts, and that's great, and 8 will turn it off. However, if you have a station sound diner, the interior lights are controlled by aux 1 8 and 9, effectively the smoke unit output if that receiver were used in a locomotive. So the correct auxiliary code for a station sound diner is aux 1 6. What aux 1 6 does for the smoke output is when you press and hold 6, it's still 12 volts. You let off 6, it's 12 volts. The reason for that is we don't want your interior lights to get really bright and then once you let off 9, dim back down to their normal brightness. So aux 1 6 in the programming setting allows your smoke unit output to function as a cab light. Another example is when you're in program, auxiliary code of 5. If your engine is equipped with a strobe light that you can turn on and off, your strobe light setting is 5 in program. Put the engine back in run, you hit aux 1 9 to turn the strobe light on, and what that smoke unit output does then is it strobes on and off. So you've got a strobe light. You press 8 and that output's turned off. So if you have a diesel, steam locomotive, electric, whatever it is that you have, and you need to program the ID number, what we suggest you do, or you need to reprogram the ID number, what we suggest you do is go to the Lionel website, hover over customer services, down to resources, over to the left, and then move down to owner's manuals. Go there, type in the 6- number of your product, get into the product, and you can download the owner's manual right there. Scroll right down on a PDF, find that correct auxiliary code, make sure you use it when you program your ID number, because you don't program ID numbers that frequently. You usually only do it once or twice in a year. So as long as you do it right the first time, you'll be confident, and you'll be confident that the locomotive's features will all perform properly. By not programming that auxiliary code, you run the risk of the engine doing things you don't want it to do or that it's not designed to do. So that's why when you call customer service, the very first thing that we do with you is program the locomotive. Let's make sure that we have the right settings in the engine, and then and only then can we begin to diagnose a potential problem. And one of the things we don't do here in Lionel Customer Service is we don't bring engines in because somebody says, oh, my train doesn't work. Okay, your train doesn't work. Let's program it, see if it does work. Take that layer of complexity out of there. Your train doesn't have to make a trip. So I hope you find this information useful. Again, all those auxiliary program codes for your specific engine can be found in the manual for that specific engine. And all of those manuals are available at Lionel.com under that product number. Thank you.